Hi and welcome to Quantum Lucid. Today I want to talk about choosing your illusion. I want you to understand that all your lives and realities, your circumstances are always illusions. Whether they are favorable ones that make you happy, ones that you say I've manifested my desire, versus ones that are contradictory or unfavorable, they are still all illusions. What does illusion mean? It just means that it's not what it seems. It means there is an alternate to it. But they are real experiences. That is why we get stuck and we get confused and we react and think that this is final and solid. That's what the three-dimensional experience is. It's meant to make you think this is all final and solid and one shot and that's it. You either win or lose, and if you lose, too bad. If you win, you're lucky. That's the way we are meant to perceive and live in this world. But now you're beginning to understand that is not how it works. However, when you learn this knowledge, a lot of people immediately try to change the circumstances in front of them by wishing really hard, doing affirmations, and looking outside to see if something has changed. And there's a lot of mixed results, and I'm going to tell you why the illusion cannot be changed from within. Meaning, a three-dimensional orchestrated circumstance or condition is real. So real cannot be changed via manipulation. If you do, it's just going to be a manipulated change that is not the result that you want. You're going to fight, you're going to force, you're going to be miserable. That's what I mean. And yes, that's how we learn to live in the 3D, but there are many things that you cannot manipulate or you'll get into trouble. And that's why people come into manifestation. Because there are laws, there are boundaries, there are regulations. And yes, you can become a criminal and break all of those, but not everybody wants to go that route. And I'm here to tell you that you don't need to. So there are certain things you can fight out and be aggressive about and get so far, but majority of things in your life you're going to find going forward is going to have to be dependent on this inner knowledge and manifestational outlook, meaning you look at the world as infinity, as I am, instead of through your human logic and rational brain. You're going to have to live like this if you want to achieve the majority of your desires and live the life of your dreams. And I know this is not what a lot of people wanted to hear. They just wanted a magic pill that'll fix a few things and they want to go back to living the way they were. It's probably not going to work that way, especially if you are now overturning a lot of illusory circumstances on their head. Man, I'm guessing not everybody is just manifesting a stick of gum, so there are a lot of manifestations that they want to acquire and achieve. Okay, so just keep in mind, the illusion comes from your awareness. Your awareness is such a solid and strong, powerful consciousness that everything behaves real according to it. So if you are aware of a certain thing, that is what will play out in three-dimensionality, and that's what becomes true. But what you've been doing is the moment you see an alternate or contradictory orchestration, you also bring it into your awareness, and that's why you have a fucked up mind, and everything inside your brain is all messed up because you've been accepting things that were not meant to be accepted, and you've been identifying with it. Okay? So because you've been doing that, you've contaminated your now awareness, and that's that. So now you're going to say, well, how do I live? Well, that's really the truth of it. And once you understand, that is how you're going to have to live. It's okay to be conflicted about all this knowledge. Like I said, this knowledge is not for everybody. A lot of people will just move away from it and just say, you know what, I can't do this anymore. It's affecting my life, because it is really how things work, and you're learning anew how to think and give meaning to things. Okay, let's put it this way. This is the poor man's way of getting what they want. Because if you were a trillionaire, I highly doubt you'd be on YouTube looking for help. So now that you found yourself in this community and you're looking for answers, this is the only way to get out of what you're experiencing and get back into the illusion of your dreams. All realities, all infinite possibilities, all worlds of the multiverse, all versions of you and your worlds, including versions of others, are still always illusions. And if they weren't illusions, the problem would be that you'd be stuck in one for infinity, and you'd be fated and destined according to that world. So it's a good thing that they're illusions, is because you can always dream up a different illusion. Okay? They're always going to break away. So the good thing is they are all illusions. It has to be equally all illusions. The bad things have to be illusions. The good things have to be illusions. That doesn't mean you're going to fear that you're going to lose everything good in your life. It's just the way it is. Okay, so if you're worried about things like I'm running out of time, my age, etc., then I'd say stop all this manifesting and go back to living the life that you were living, and don't even bother with this knowledge anymore. Because if you are going to go beyond time and space, if you're going to go beyond human thinking, you're going to have to go beyond human thinking. You're going to have to accept that time, space, age is irrelevant when you are dealing and perceiving and going through the world as I am. All there is pure consciousness. Because pure consciousness doesn't understand those restrictions, you do. Okay, so that brings me to the next point. You are going to have to choose your illusion. When you choose your illusion, your awareness, you are going to have to learn how to give meaning to anything that is contradictory to it. So like I said, the classic example. Say, for example, in your current circumstances, a certain specific somebody has physically died or passed away, and you're aware of their funerals and everything is all fact and certified and documented, and it's out there, it's real, right? It's real is real. You can't make it unreal. That's denial. Denial is to see something as real, but to tell yourself that it's not. That's this classic definition of denial, and this is not what we're doing. We're not going to be in denial. This is beyond that. Okay, so your awareness needs to be aware of them being alive. How do you do that? I don't know, Photoshop. Write something. Write yourself a text from them. Go have a coffee with them in your imagination. It's going to be collected and stored as an image frame. What you do and how you define it is up to you. Do you say that you had coffee with them last Wednesday? Well, then you did physically. Your brain only knows what you tell it its memory, its image frames are. If you call it a 3D lived memory, then it's a 3D lived memory. If you say it's imagination and fictional, then it's imagination and fictional. You've already been through that. Your awareness needs to be a completely separate line from what's going on in front of you, and you don't need to check back. The whole point of not needing to check back is because you're bifurcating and you're drawing a parallel line into another three-dimensional world. Checking back on the old one will just pull you back into its old story and keep you there longer. Delay. Okay, so once you understand there's more than one three-dimensional world, there's more than one physical earth, you're going to understand why looking back and checking is counterintuitive. It's just not going to work in your favor, because when it changes, it'll come and shake your hand with you and let you know that it's changed. So if you're feeling that nothing is changing, well, then your awareness is still deep down, invisibly, it's still the old awareness. You're supposed to live your daily life as if your new awareness is physically real. That's how strong and deep you need to be in your awareness. Now, if you go to work and you go to a family gathering and they all talk about Uncle so-and-so passing away or whoever that person was, yes, it's going to feel very counterintuitive. But if your awareness is still on your reality of choice, it's not going to be able to affect it. That is how you have to learn to live. You're going to have to learn to live with any punches that come in your way. It doesn't mean you have to take the punches and accept and lower your self-esteem and walk in front of your specific person with their new family and husbands and wives and children. You don't have to do that. And you don't have to humiliate yourself. You don't have to take abuse. You don't have to take any kind of bad behavior. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is, whether you take it or not, or whether you're in the presence of it or not, your awareness must not be shaken. It must not be contaminated. To contaminate it means you're changing your world again. And the more you keep changing worlds, the slower your new three-dimensional world is going to take to objectify or zoom into view, so to speak. Creation is finished. Everything already exists. Otherwise, you couldn't desire or imagine it. Go back to my first videos where I talk about imagination. It comes from the word image. You cannot have an image of something that doesn't physically already exist. End of story. Okay, so whatever is happening in the three-dimensional world, if it makes you cry, laugh, feel sad, feel confused, conflicted, let it pass. Let it happen if it has to. If you have to get up and remove yourself, that's also fine. Nothing's going to go wrong. If it's too much, delete your social media. Delete your social media. If it feels like you don't want to go somewhere, don't go somewhere. If it feels like you're still going to go somewhere, go somewhere. You have to understand how versions and everything works, okay? If you can currently see your specific somebody, whether it's a relative or uncle that has passed or whatever, in a casket, and you can see that they are fully, physically, really, objectively dead, and you can be aware of them being alive, you're going to have to know that how simultaneous worlds and simultaneous timelines work. That's how they work, because they are not the same people. The you in that simultaneous world and the you in this world are also not the same people. When you understand they're physical copies of you and everybody else, the sting is going to be a little less. The blow is going to feel a little less. You're going to understand how infinity works, what this game is all about. Then you're going to be able to go back in your mind to your dream world. Due to whatever three-dimensional or universal laws or whatever, you're not able to exist and perceive infinite body copies and infinite worlds at the same time. You're only able to perceive an objectified one world at the same time, making you think that is the only world when in reality and in factuality. These are physics, okay? This is physics and science. When in factuality, all those other worlds are equally objectively real and happening simultaneously. In other words, the you that is living in 2036, happily married to your specific person, is happening right now, even though you call this year 2026. That's why you can observe future events that have not happened. That's why you can observe past events. 1996 is happening right now, even though you call this year in your world 2026. Okay, so you have to understand how simultaneous timelines work and how time is warped and completely different outside this dimension where I am is from. I am is an entity that percolates all dimensions, and including the third dimension where it's wearing a garment called you and dreaming. Okay, I'm going to throw in a little bit of physics for all you non-believers. There's enough evidence and videos on quantum mechanics. That's the line that serves these kind of questions. Physicists such as Hugh Everett, Mark Wheeler, I believe, and David Deutsch, they talk about the many worlds, the multiverse. However, you have to keep in mind, these people were not joking around, and if you listen to even the physicist called Federico Faggini, he was an Italian guy who invented the microchip. Even he talks about consciousness and everything exists within consciousness. But these scientists, not any of them specifically, but if you want specifics, you can look at Hugh Everett and David Deutsch. They talk about multi-worlds. Hugh Everett was back in the past, like he died many years ago, and David Deutsch, I believe, is still alive. David Deutsch talks about actual copies, physical copies, and physical worlds of you, objectively objectified, and occurring simultaneously at the same time. So these are scientists who have a brain and are recognized and are not crazy and are bold enough to stand up and say this. You will always find contradictory information to anything that you want to believe if you want to find it. So you're on a path of self-fulfilling prophecy, and that's where you need to stay, because that's what will work for you. What you decide works for you is what works for you. If you take in all the information of the world, nothing is going to work for you, because there is always a contradiction to everything you want to believe. You pick and choose. This world is made by humans. just like you and me. Some of them are certified, stamped, and validated, and gold standard, and some of them just make videos on YouTube, and some of them are housewives and, I don't know, office clerks. It doesn't matter. Your truth is your truth. So going back to this, choose your illusion knowingly and smartly, and whatever you're faced with, understand how it's working. Then you will be bold enough to face it or not face it and know what will not still happen. You will be in control of your experience. Once you're in control of your experience, guess what that makes you? It makes you lucid in your waking dream. Anyways, I hope you listen to this video again if you're confused, if you're asking about the 3D and time and all that stuff. You need to live and be non-human for a majority of the time in order to get this. Non-human means logical, rational, conditional thinking and perceiving. So anyways, I'll make more videos on how to solidify your awareness of your new life or your new desires, your new timeline. But you need to get this idea down first in order to be able to navigate your physical day-to-day functionality in your environment while still attending to your new awareness, your desired awareness. If you still have questions and comments, leave them below and I will talk to you in the next video.